Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a great video for you. I'm going to be reviewing a video that Trend Central put up. Real stuff, people escaping on camera from prisons. I thought it was pretty interesting, so somebody sent it to me and I started looking at a couple of these, and this one was pretty intriguing. So I thought I would kind of review it and see how it can be done better, since it's prison and not many people know more about prison than I do. With that said, please check me out on YouTube member programs, check me out on Patreon, check my merch out. I love my merch. Check out my book, Gangster Redemption. All right, this video is pretty good, and these are actual escapes. Now, remember what I'm gonna talk about. I was in prison. I was both in county jails, from a medium security onto a maximum security. So I'm gonna kind of have a great idea on how these go. Let's check out the first escape.
Criminals have been trying to escape prisons ever since their inception. In most cases, prison breaks fail, but this isn't always the case. Escapes don't only happen in the movies, as they actually happen much more often than you'd like to think in the real world. It's human nature to seek freedom, and it's going to be very clear the lengths some people will take to relish that sweet taste of fresh air. Luckily for us, most fail, but those very few truly committed criminals who are willing to risk it for the biscuit sometimes succeed spectacularly. Ready to meet the guys that escaped and lived to tell the tale? Let's get it on.
There wasn't many days I didn't think, if I had a life sentence, I would have tried to escape. There's no question I would have. That's just the way it is in prison. You're gonna try to escape. I guarantee that. You're gonna think about it. Even when you're in there for X amount of times, you're gonna watch people try to escape, or maybe help them in a little way. Whether it's cover for them at a corner, just so you might not know what's going on, you don't want to know when it's going down, but you'll cover for them. So that's just the way it is in prison. So I agree with that statement. Now, obviously, when I heard that first statement, I thought about the greatest prison escapes ever, which I talked to you about, and I think a couple of them to this day are El Chapo, digging tunnels, having people dig tunnels into the prison from a farm off of the prison, which I thought was amazing, honestly amazing. But this is a little bit different. So let's go into these.
Under the radar. Sometimes you just have to wing it. No pre-planning, thought process, or careful consideration. If you see an opening, you take it. Two inmates were on garage duty outside the high fences of the prison. All it took was a fleeting glance towards each other, a little nod, and they were off. They bolted out of the prison grounds as fast as they could.
The first thing I thought about when I saw this video, obviously it was in 2018, and these guys were on what they call probably a work detail, an outside work detail. As you can see, they take off, they book. Whatever they do, they book. It might have been a low security, but I can guarantee these guys weren't murderers with multiple life sentences or very violent offenders who did this one. Because the cop, look at again, inmates like myself, guys who've been in prison for a while, we call guards cops. Look at the cop here, just slowly grabs his radio and says, hey, listen, these guys are bolting. He ain't even going to chase him. He knows he can't outrun him. Let's see what happens.
Leaving the supervising guard staring after them in disbelief as he called in the escape on his radio. Once the coast was clear, the pair split up to go their separate ways, every man for himself. They were apprehended a few days later in a nearby barn and apartment complex. How these guys flew under the radar and convinced the guards to let them outside without restraints is anyone's guess.
That's not true. They didn't let them outside to do that. They planned that, obviously. They were on that kind of a work detail. They don't put guys like myself or guys who are in some rougher prisons, they don't put them on the work details outside the prison like that, unless you're, shackled or, supervised in a big way. Obviously, these guys got away, so they didn't even, that means they didn't even have probably roving patrols. Every medium security, even the low security prisons in the federal system, and of course the high, not only do they have gun towers, they have what they call roving. They have two trucks usually that rove. They circle the prison 24/7. Literally 24/7. They have two vehicles that circle the prison at different times. And obviously if that guard called to them, a truck would have been there and they would have picked them up right away. So this one didn't surprise me too much. This is an opportunity, but it's also not. And let me give you this, why I say this. When they took off, they had to know where to go. Obviously, they knew the surrounding areas because they were on an outside work detail, or they went to a waiting car or something like that, and they got away, because they did get away for a few days. Not the sharpest tools in the shed. They get caught, in a barn 2 days later, close by. not too swift, you know. I mean, obviously, I don't think, you know, one of these guys are that swift anyway. But I don't knock them. You know, when you see somebody try to escape, it's who wants to be locked up? I mean, you know you fucked up. But it's not like saying, okay, just lock me up. I like it here. No, the human instinct is to get the fuck out. Let's go to the next one.
Over the fence. Some criminals would move heaven and earth in order to be free from the prison walls. Others would just simply move part of the wall. These two inmates removed a couple of cinder blocks and squeezed through the openings before throwing a blanket over a 25-foot-high razor wire fence and fleeing into the woods. The holes in the wall were covered by posters, and they even made dummies out of pillows and blankets in their beds to buy them valuable time.
Way to plan it. That's a definite yard that's a little harder to get out. Could have been a lot more dangerous people here. Now, this looked like it could have been in a county jail or a system of that nature, not a state prison where they're going to have that. But the 25-foot offense, you know, that's not as easy as even with a blanket, or a lot of times people take a mattress. If they can get a mattress out there, they put the mattress over that razor wire. Because that's razor wire. That'll cut the fuck. I watched a guy fall into razor wire. And I'm telling you, it was the bloodiest thing you ever seen. It cuts you to ribbons. It's really horrific. But, you know, they got over it with a blanket and stuff and not getting cut. I guess assumed too much. Great shape. They jumped over, got away.
After all that work, they were caught when a local resident saw tracks in the mud at a nearby creek and alerted the authorities.
Obviously, getting caught in the mud by somebody seeing your prints and stuff doesn't tell me that you planned it all the way out. Getting out is one thing. Staying out is another thing. That's the big key.
Think fast, act fast. When at first you don't succeed, try and try again. After a few failed attempts over the course of a day, this jailbird decided to bide his time and wait for his moment. When one presented itself, he had to think fast and act fast. As the police moved away from the patrol car to process his transfer, this guy saw an opening as the garage door was closing. He sprinted out of the tiny opening with the best display of speed limbo you've ever seen in your life. As the roller door closed behind him, it took the cops valuable minutes to get outside, and by this stage, he was long gone. He covered so much ground that not even a 2-hour sniffer dog search could find him. He was arrested the next day, and you could say his luck had run out.
Great move. Even the timing of the door closing. And he's a fast kid. You know, I used to always say, if you're a real criminal, there's ways to get out of handcuffs as well. Obviously, you guys know what I mean by when I say suitcasing. And if you haven't watched this channel, suitcasing means hiding something in your rectum. I know many drug dealers, drug addicts who keep what they call a ready package. They'll call it like that, a ready package, which is it's dope or even whatever messages, whatever you think you're gonna need in a prison, because you've been in and out of that county jail for whatever, and you think you're gonna get arrested, they quickly insert something up their rectum. Obviously, you can take a handcuff key, or as I showed you on this channel, you can get out of handcuffs with a paper clip. I actually knew one dude who he was a how do you say that word? Peripheral prisoner. He was always a prisoner, always getting in trouble. He used to keep a long paper clip, you know, stretched out in the top of his pant behind his back, because that's where he's going to be cuffed. He used to do that all the time, just like where you could never feel it. They can go around you, they can touch you, and they'll never feel that. And they'll put you in the back of a cop car, and he will be out of those cuffs before he gets to that police station, and he will bolt, they call it. And obviously, usually they know who you are, you're gonna get caught, you don't have the money already, you know, you're on the lam. That's not always great. Believe me, I know guys who got caught after many, many years on the lam. But this guy, opportunity, quit, quickly bolted, and he was so fast, believe me, they couldn't even catch him. That kid must have been a runner. That kid was a long distance runner out of school, because I'll tell you what, I'd have petered out myself. I mean, I don't think I could have ran that quick.
Slow and controlled. When you're not a criminal mastermind, you have to play to your strengths. Being a silver-tongued Casanova has its perks, especially if the guard making eyes at you just happens to be holding the keys to the only barrier between you and freedom. These guys calmly opened the gate and casually strolled out of the jail with no urgency at all, without a care in the world. There aren't many scenarios where a prison guard and an escaped con can live happily ever after. She's seen running her hands through her hair and looking totally stressed out, rethinking her life choices. The following day, she's arrested. arrested, and the 3 guys on the run are apprehended 5 days later after a tense siege with police. Stick to what you're good at, guys. Breaking hearts, not breaking out of jail.
That escape reminded me of the Richard Matten and Matten Sweat. The 2 guys had escaped about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and they escaped out of upstate New York State prison, and they were on the run for 3 weeks. They were real killers, those guys. I was on TV every day on those, and you could see it anywhere. Matter of fact, I described to a CNN anchor woman, Brooke Baldwin, how to hide a knife up your rectum on national TV.
There's something called, and I'm going to show your audience, it's called suitcasing something. It's actually hiding something in your rectum. And it's not like you stick a saw blade there. You actually take a toothbrush holder, Brooke, and they put the saw blade in the toothbrush holder and insert it there. And you can get through 3 metal detectors. It happens quite often.
But this video reminded me of that because they got close with a girl guard. Now, obviously, she got caught. She got arrested. Who knows really what happened to her? But they did catch these guys. They didn't hurt anybody after that. But that is, by far, happens, and it happens more than you think. People connect with the guard. But you don't see them connect with the guard to escape. Usually you see them connect with the guard to get something in the prison, like, drugs or something of that nature. Not per se to escape, like Matt and Sweat got some stuff in the prison to break out. Obviously, that they were real smart about that. So these guys too, this was all planned, and they walked casually to not make any alarms. And sure enough, once they were out, they again, staying out's the key. I don't care what you do to get out, and you got to get out. Everybody knows that. But once you're out, what are you gonna do? That's the key to me. And I don't think the people are really thinking that far ahead, and that's the big mistake they make.
Van hit and run. If something's too good to be true, it generally is. A group of prisoners were being escorted through the garage on their way back to their cells. One is seen lingering, and soon after walks behind a transport van out of sight, with the guards going ahead and not noticing he's missing. All that's left for him to do is open the door, turn the key that's so conveniently sitting in the ignition, and start the van. It's like the stars have aligned and the universe is almost begging him to take his chances for freedom. He floors the van, smashing through the garage door, and is free and clear. Or so he thought. He crashed into some trees nearby and was arrested. Most people steal a car and then get sent to jail, not the other way around.
Well, this one had me kind of laughing. I've been in many of those vans that have to come back to the prison to drop you off after you either go to court or you get transferred or wherever it is. You got to go to the medical. I've been in an outside medical hospital, and they come back. Now, first of all, when they process you out of any jail, whether it's a work detail or not, they process you out. You're not in that prison anymore. So they have to strip search you. And then they bring you back in, they have to strip search you again. So they'll know. For them to just miss that guy without counting the heads is pretty bad on the guard's part. For the guy just to be able to linger there and just jump in the van and do what he did. Obviously, he didn't even think about which way to go. He could have backed up and went out the way he came in, and he wouldn't have hit a truck or a tree or whatever the fuck he hit when he went out the tree. I get that people have, I hate to say balls, but they got the guts and they got the wherewithal to get out, but then they don't keep it going.
Handcuffs. Even dumb criminals get lucky breaks eventually. After being arrested at a motel for theft, this woman found her way into a police holding cell. She was left alone with her phone to try to arrange bail money and a life home. She struggles to break free of the cuffs, anchoring her to the wall in between checking text messages. Even though police say the cuffs were on its tightest setting, she was able to wriggle her dainty hands free. She took the keys off a hook on the wall and used them to open an emergency exit to quietly slip out the back door while no one was watching. She was busted an hour later when she returned to the same hotel where she was arrested that morning, instantly recognized by the staff who worked there.
Wow. 1 hour out. Talk about crackhead. Talk about meth head that had to go back to where the hotel was to try to get her fix or wherever she was to meet somebody there. She slips the cuff. Now, I don't believe for 1 second the cop had it on the littlest click. I mean, obviously, unless if it was that little, they'll put, if they don't think you'll hold on to the cuff, they're gonna put you in what they call flex cuffs. Whether you're too big or you're too small, they'll put those things on you so that because they can ratchet them down or whatever they want. Obviously, there's not many people watching this kid. This kid is a sad case, is probably a drug case of some sort, probably just a possession case. They're letting her sit on the phone right there with her phone to go get bail money, obviously. So even why escape? I mean, you know, escape for a reason. Don't escape to just put an escape charge on your jacket. That doesn't make sense. But a lot of these don't make sense.
25 years ago, a TV film crew received an anonymous tip about a protest outside of a prison in Copenhagen and went there to document the event. What happened next was a bulldozer slamming into the brick wall of the jail and knocking it down, with prisoners running out of the hole like ants fleeing from their nest. They can be seen running down the street laughing and cheering, celebrating their newfound freedom. The film crew were arrested on suspicion of having prior knowledge of the escape and failing to notify police. 13 inmates escaped in total, some with lengthy jail terms for violent crimes and murder, with only 3 ever being caught.
That is impressive. This one blew me away. Not only did they go through the wall with a bulldozer, I mean, obviously that was planned. They had to know to be near the wall or wherever they were, because if you're on the other side of the prison when that happens, that's not going to work. But 13 get out and 10 never get caught. That's the most successful prison break that I know. Now, I know of the El Chapo prison breaks. I know people who've tried to get out. So they had a lot of planning on this, and they did this one right, whether they got out of the country or not. Whatever they did in this one, super impressive. Even to get the resources to get a bulldozer to go through that wall. Because somebody in that bulldozer had to get caught. You don't just drive a bulldozer without either knowing how or what, and then going through the wall. That again shocks me. Did the news crew know about it? I don't know. Pretty cool stuff if you ask me. And nobody got hurt. At least it didn't say anybody got hurt. So that's a pretty cool brazen escape. So that's got to hit my list of top right now, top ones. Let's go on.
Typically, you would think that installing air vents large enough for a man to squeeze through close to the floor would be a bad idea in a prison, but this was exactly how this trio gained access into the plumbing shafts behind the wall. They used ropes made out of bed sheets and had a getaway van waiting with fresh clothes and a bottle of Jack Daniels for a celebratory drink. It only took 8 minutes for 3 inmates to complete their complex plan, ironically using a cell phone to film their escape from their cell. These guys traded 15 minutes of fame for an extra 15 years behind bars.
It doesn't surprise me on that one that people will film things with a cell phone. That wasn't around when I was around, but it is now, obviously. They got out. That's pretty typical. Get to the behind the walls. They call those pipe chases in prison. It's where they run the pipes in the toilet and stuff like that. So that's kind of normal. Again, I think they're right there. But in older prisons, they were built, so they're not going to rechange the whole prison. If you can fit in it, you can fit in it. Obviously, you wouldn't think, but there is regulations on the size of duct and stuff for proper air conditioning and proper ventilation for a building. So I don't know what it is, but there is regulations on that. Again, they got 15 years. Escaping a prison it's another charge. Just like bringing drugs into a prison. If you're a civilian and you have a husband and wants you to bring in, and you better tell him to go fuck himself, because you will go to prison. It's called introduction of contraband into a secure facility, or in the federal system into a federal institution. So you don't want to do that. That's you leave that to somebody who nobody gives a fuck about. I hate to say that. Or at least that person does. If I ever heard that there was an inmate in our prison and he was getting the dope from his wife or girlfriend, then I think he don't even love him. And what is this guy, a moron? Obviously, yes. But these guys did get out, did it right, and again, they get caught.
Arrested at school for fighting, this teenager was left alone in an interrogation room for only 10 seconds before he threw caution to the wind and fearlessly jumped out of a 16-foot-high second-story window. He may just have rubber bones, as he got straight back up after surviving the fall and got out of there as fast as his legs could carry him. The cop comes to check on him 14 minutes later, and you can clearly hear him saying a few choice words when he realizes what's happened. The boy was found 3 hours later at his friend's house. We can safely say that when he turns 21, the only bars he'll be attending will be made of iron.
You know, I thought this one was pretty cool. One, because it's a kid in a school. What's really going to happen to him? But this kid dives out a second-story window. Literally dives head first out of a second-story window And obviously you can see him running away. But what does he do? He goes to hang out and party with his friends. Hello? Did you think they weren't going to come get you? Hello, McFly? Think about it. Not that he can go anywhere anyway. I think that's an impulse thing. I don't know. But this is my thought pattern on this one. Maybe he did have something. He was going to get arrested and he had something on him and he wanted to get rid of it. And if it's something like maybe even a lot of dope or something like that, he didn't want to just dump it out the window and lose it. He went back to his friends and gave it to him. I don't know the real reason. I'm sure there is. But this is just thinking, hey, where am I going now? I wonder what he was thinking when he was running. Think about that one. You're running that fast. You're getting away. Oh, man, I got to get to my friend's house. Why? I don't know. Let's get the next one.
This inmate had a pretty simple plan. He was being processed in a detention center. One of his buddies would distract the guard while he made his getaway. When he saw an extremely small window, he thought think thin over and over in his head before taking a running leap, diving through the window. Once outside, he got into the getaway car his girlfriend was waiting in, and they were off like a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde. 26 days later, they were discovered living in an abandoned house in the next state after an anonymous tip-off. The warden said he's taking extra steps and putting locking mechanisms on the window, which should have been a no-brainer in a prison.
Yes, how about a no-brainer and putting bars on a window that person can jump out? Now remember, what shocked me on this one was that guy was on the phone in the prison. That was what they call the prison phones. So that was up against the wall, and he's looking at somebody sitting down, whether it's a receptionist or whatever, and saying, there's a window there, I can jump out of that window. And then to be in freedom? I mean, you'd think there'd be another locked door on the outside, maybe with a buzzer to get in? So I'm not talking about the smartest people locking people up either. Obviously, that warden shouldn't be a warden. If you don't think of that and you have to wait for an escape for that to happen, then you're not thinking like one a criminal would, though, because I would have figured that one out. Not that this fat ass can fit through a window. But I totally would have figured that one out. And this guy gets away for a month, and he gets caught in another state. So he just was snitched on, I guess. So I'm not saying this guy was he just had the unluck of either knowing too many people or being around too many people and getting caught after the fact, or maybe an unlucky break. You know, you hope this guy keeps going, doesn't wait the one state over and just keeps going, trying to change his whole identity or life. That's what you have to try to do. I don't know, what happened exactly, but again, I give him kudos for a quick think and having the girl. Maybe the girl was on the phone. He said, listen, I'm going to be jumping out the window soon, so, hurry up. Are you here? And once she said yes, I don't know the whole thing. I'm sure they did monitor him, or at least they should monitor him, but it didn't say. That's just my opinion on that one. So I thought all those were pretty good, everybody. They made me think. I like watching people get escape, because that to me is not it's an escape. All of it's escapes, but there's no full plan. I mean, I'd love to see a full plan. I think if you can do the full plan, you got a really good deal. And if you have enough time, it's worth it. If you have enough time. If you have a few years and you get more tacked on, it's not worth it. Trust me, it's not worth it. But if you had a life sentence or anything like that, trust me. If I had a life sentence, I was going to be planning my escapes. That's for sure. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please like. Please comment. I'm going to answer. Have a great day, everyone. Stay strong. Stay safe. Make good choices.